Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Breathe.Move.Sing. Today you're stuck with just me. Dr. Liz isn't here today, but we have Ryan Chavis back with us. And today we're going to nerd out about breathing and bodies and anatomy and all the things that I love to talk about with singers. So if you want to hear what's been going on with Ryan in the past, check out our last video. Check out that video, it's a great one. And we're going to have him sing a little piece today. We'll do some work together and then have him sing again. We'll hope that something changes, right? So, hey Ryan, how you doing?
Doing great.
Great, thank you so much for doing this with us. So let's start with you singing for us.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Du holder Kunst, in wie viel grauen Stunden, wo mich des Lebens wie der Kreis umstrickt. Hast du mein Herz zu warmer Lebensstunden, hast mich in einer besseren Welt entrückt, in einer besseren Welt entrückt.
Beautiful. Was there anything just now today that stuck out to you as either being harder than you'd like it to be or noticing something in your body where you'd like more choice in the matter?
I'm not sure about the phrasing in that piece, but I know typically when I sing it, I have to really concentrate to make sure I don't breathe where I'm not meant to breathe in the phrase and continue all the way through. And sometimes that's very challenging for me. And I know there's more air in there.
So if I kind of translate that into my own language, it sounds like you know you have more air in there, you're just not always accessing it, and so therefore having to take breaths in places that you might not choose to otherwise.
Right, out of like a sense of, and not even necessarily necessity, but sometimes it's out of necessity. I think it's also a habit to breathe too frequently in order to keep from feeling that feeling.
Totally, like you're staying away from feeling like you only have this much left.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's also like I've had a lot of different teachers, and sometimes in my own body I feel unclear about which mechanisms and which movements help pressurize in the right way and really help me get the result that I want. Sometimes I feel like my breath is stagnant because I don't know what to do with it.
I love that. Okay, we can definitely think about that. Okay, and then also I just wanted to give a quick summary of some of the things we talked about last week in terms of some of the medical history and the good news that you got today. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so a few years ago, Ryan found out that he had right-sided vocal paresis and closure of his vocal cords wasn't great. He has had multiple scopes over the last few years, and yesterday had a new one showing that, like, hey, everything is great, which is amazing.
It made my day. I was so good.
Last week we also talked about neck positioning, and he does have some lower neck issues going on, or you're seeing a physical therapist right now, right? For your neck.
Yeah, mostly we're working on my back. Okay. Because I have a pinched nerve in my neck that kind of comes and goes from time to time, and I mean, it's all related.
Of course it is. Yes, of course. And last week we talked about how you have a tendency to end up kind of to the right and extended, which is like gorgeous. But doesn't give you the option to be wherever you need to be on stage and still feel like you have a consistent sound. Okay. So let's launch into some just like generic posture assessment. And I'll just talk about some of the things that I see. I'm going to pin your video. There's nothing really that's hugely sticking out. Your right shoulder sits a little forward and down compared to your left. But everything else, you look pretty upright. Go ahead and turn all the way around so I can see the back of you. Yeah, so this is also showing your right shoulder blade down lower, which is not a bad thing, right? We are asymmetrical, but it's just an interesting thing to note. Your right arm is a little closer to your body than your left. You've got a little more space between your body, between your left and your right, or between your left arm and your body.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah. What if you lift your right foot like you're balancing on your left foot? Good. To the other foot. Yeah, that looks easy. Go back to the left. There's a little shiftiness happening where your rib cage is shifting off to the left over here. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and turn and face me. Let's see a few like squats if you were going to do a workout.
Sure.
Nice. And switch sides. When you squat, and I'm looking at your left side, your ribs move forward faster in your squat, and on the right, you're able to kind of control that a little bit more. And that's consistent with that left balance versus the right balance.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, do that one more time. Rotation.
Yeah, and my head's like on a tilt when I'm doing it.
Yeah, I can see that. On the left side, you look like it just gets sticky at the end rather than it freely going. Does that sound right in terms of how you're feeling?
Yeah, I feel like I have to push through it to get it.
Yeah, like it's kind of like there's some molasses or something. Like.
Yeah.
Some strange things. If you tap your teeth together, do you feel both sides touching?
I mean, yes, but they're not completely aligned.
Okay, tell me more about that.
First on the front, and then left side front, like not necessarily the back.
Okay.
And then in the back teeth on the left side aren't touching, but the right side are touching.
Okay. Have you ever had braces, retainers, teeth?
Nope.
That kind of jealous. No braces?
I know my dentist said I won the lottery. Yeah.
And then what about like glasses, contacts, any vision correction for you? Oh my God. The teeth differences interest me. We're going to come back to that after we try some things. And I just want to check some shoulder range of motion. So have you bring both arms up over your head and back down, and we'll do that a few times. And let me know if one side feels different.
My right arm underneath it, like I'm feeling like if I stop here, I feel this light up in my tricep and by the elbow.
Okay. And then what if you go up all the way overhead? Yeah, you kind of have to like hitch that right arm up, don't you?
I don't know. It definitely requires, it feels like a slower movement for sure. It's definitely heavier. I mean.
So I have a couple of ideas. Okay, so you're going to start on your hands and knees. I call this the angry cat. So you're going to exhale and press into the ground and get as round as you can, and then hold that position as you inhale again. So exhale, get super, super round. Round. Pull your ribs up from the front, up towards the ceiling. Hold them there and breathe in. And it might be a shorter breath because this is different than normal. And then when you breathe out, you're going to get even rounder. And of course, you run out of room at a certain point. It's the attempt that matters. I'm trying to give you more space in the back half of your rib cage. How does that feel?
It's great. It's a dimension of my ribs I don't often think about. And I think that's pretty common for singers probably, because we always talk about a low breath, and the most, for me at least, the most tangible part of my rib cage when I am trying to maintain expansion or that feeling of inhalation when I'm supporting is in the lower part of it. So I often neglect this part that almost feels like, they almost feel like wings. They almost feel like right underneath your shoulder blade, and it just spreads. It's really cool to think that, oh yeah, that's part of your rib cage. Silly.
Totally. I love that it feels like wings. What I'm trying to do with this exercise is if there's a spectrum of your rib cage expansion and contraction, you tend to live on the end that is the expansion, right? And singers do. That's fine if you sing that way. The problem comes if you're done with singing and then you walk around the world still like that, you never get to the other end of the spectrum where you start working on getting small and in an exhale position. The reason this matters is because muscles like to live in the mid-range of their normal range of motion, right? So for a diaphragm, exhalation, inhalation, if they're starting to live like here, then you start losing the upper ranges of exhalation. So the description that you gave where the breath management stuff where you're like, I just have a habit of inhaling earlier than I need to, it's because your mid-range has learned to be lower towards the inhale position. So if you get close to exhale, your brain goes, oh wait, we're at the end, bring you back to the middle.
Right.
I'm trying to give you more spectrum of diaphragm doming up into exhale. And of course, all the other muscles, your abdominals, your intercostals, all of those muscles that help you get there, same story.
Heard.
That make sense?
Yeah, a ton of sense.
Cool. So let's do that one more time. And I want you to work through 4 or 5 breaths and trying to make them accumulate. And let's add, when you get to a full exhale, and it should feel kind of torturous and foreign, I want you to pause for 3 seconds before you breathe in again.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Could you feel your abdominals working?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have you do one more set of like 2 breaths and see if you can get your abs on the bus. So picture, do you know where your obliques are? Does that sound familiar to you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, picture your obliques pulling your ribs down and tucking them up towards the ceiling as you exhale.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Exhale, obliques pull down, intercostals get shorter, ribs get more crunched in.
Okay, yeah.
Nice. And now hold that muscle activation as you breathe in. You're pinning down the front half of your body and making yourself expand into the back half.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me that your first go-to wasn't to necessarily have your abs turn on or be very mindful of their work, because there's so much in singing culture about keeping your abs, like not having tension, keeping your ribs elevated, right? So you're very good at holding yourself there, which is great. It's just, let's work the other end of the spectrum so that you live in the middle.
Right, totally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. From my perspective, when I was in undergrad, I was a constant ab clencher and somebody who sucked it in all the time. And I'm like, any like young gay something or person really can identify probably with that feeling of like, nope, I'm just like the tightest person walking around. And I'd become so comfortable with just like letting all those muscles release. And I've worked years to beat that out. You almost forget the direction of contraction when they do contract purposefully.
Yeah.
And their use there. So it's interesting. I think I don't even have like a good mental map of what the contraction looks and feels like and what it feels like for them to release, because I'm always stuck in a mode with it. So it's very interesting to me.
Your left looks cleaner going to the left.
I was going to say the movement to the left doesn't feel as clunky as it did.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's try the jumping jack motion. Just curious if your right shoulder feels easier, harder, the same.
It feels easier getting it up.
So I jokingly call this exercise the merman, because you're gonna feel very merman-y. I feel like I could sing the Little Mermaid songs here.
Right.
So the goal here is to create space between the ribs on the right side, okay? So a lot of people have a tendency to want to like plank. I want you to get like super lazy.
Oh, I love this.
Uh-huh. You're gonna push this knee down into the ground, this knee down into the pillow. Take a breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and when you breathe out, you're gonna reach the hand towards the computer screen so that you get even more stretch here.
That's excellent.
Yes. Is that like super pulley, stretchy feeling?
Yes.
Cool.
That's amazing.
Okay, stop there. We're gonna add the toothbrush in.
Okay.
So you're gonna put your toothbrush in your left teeth. Don't kill it. I don't want you to feel like your jaw is sore at the end, right? It's not a jaw workout. but I just want you to feel contact throughout the left side of your teeth. And then do this exercise with that. So you've got one knee pressing down to the floor, the top knee pressing down into the pillow, slouchy into that right shoulder. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and reach with the left side as you exhale. And then hold that reach as you inhale so that you have to fill in to your right side of your ribs. Nice. 2 or 3 more breaths. Take your time. I usually end up feeling like my left abs are doing a bit more work because the right are all stretched out. I like the eyebrows there. You're like, what the heck? Cool. And then take a break and shake it out.
I mean, I feel very stretched on that side now. I feel this whole shift.
So let's just check in. Go ahead and stand back up. We'll check in with these motions again.
Moving to the right feels different. Oddly enough, like the position of the way I'm holding my head feels slightly different.
It is. And you're not doing that backwards pose thing.
Huh, weird. Isn't that cool? That's so
So
strange.
cool. Let's try your jumping jack motion. See how the right shoulder feels in stickiness. Ooh.
It feels not sticky. Oh
Yeah.
my, what? That's so different. Expanding that, it feels more lifted. It feels pulled out of whatever it was sticking.
Try touching your teeth again. Does that feel different or the same?
Feels different. The connection all across feels deeper.
So I'm gonna have you sing that piece again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Inhalation felt so different on that side. That's crazy. I might need to stretch both sides so that doesn't wake me out.
Don't stretch both sides.
Don't do it. They're even now, probably. Du holder Kunst in wie viel grauen Stunden, wo mich des Lebens wie der Kreis umstrickt. Hast du mein Herz zur warmen Lebenssünden, hast mich in einer besseren Welt entrückt, in einer besseren Welt entrückt.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
What'd you think?
The air, I mean, the inhalation, it feels like everything more readily falls in and fills a different dimension than it used to. I think before we stretched this, I very much would only feel like a lower focus in my inhalation and thus a shallower breath.
Yes.
But thinking this way, I actually feel my arm lift.
You get some space in there?
Yeah, but almost automatically because it's just, if you include it. Yeah. And also expelling air, it basically just felt more buoyant. Like I was able to get to the end of the phrase, feel like I should be at the end of the phrase, and actually let go and release again to bring in more air appropriately. Yeah, cool. That's
really cool.
That's
So
really.
I always say this, but without having the language to describe anything that I just heard other than like, oh my God, I loved it. What I found myself doing was like inhaling with you.
Right.
Like it just looked like easy, almost like meditative. I was like, oh, this is a good time for an inhale. The important point that I feel like I want to get across to vocalists is that working on your exhale allows you to have inhale. If you inhale, there's no more inhale to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that should be I mean, that needs to be in the Sing Bible. You can't possibly have a good inhalation if you're stacking air on top of air, and you're just going to create more tension. Yeah.
Totally.
That's super cool.
So what I'm really excited about is meeting up with the three of us, including Liz, to see if we can take this breathing concept and turn it into some vocal things that can work on, you know, I don't know, the length and the adduction, abduction of vocal cords, all these things that I'm like, oh, I don't know this stuff, right?
Right.
If we can add greater choice and greater efficiency from below, then all of this should be easier for her to work with you.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, already I think just having that one stretch to even things out from side to side of my body, I think my registration felt easier. It's usually registration is an issue where I have to deal with feeling effort, but I think the extra air and elasticity like made a big difference. Thank you.
I'm so excited. This was so fun.
Yeah, I yielded. Yeah, it was a quick yield too. I'm all about this. This is great.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Thank you so much.
So much.
Will
And
do.
I'm excited to work together again.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.